Lay's Wow Olestra. In the 1990s, Frito-Lay introduced Wow chips using Olestra, a fat substitute that passed through the digestive system without being absorbed, making the chips technically fat-free. The FDA approved Olestra but required a warning label stating the product may cause anal leakage and loose stools. This was not theoretical. Consumer complaints flooded the FDA. Over 15,000 adverse event reports were filed, the most ever received for a food additive at that time. Frito-Lay discontinued the Wow line by 2000. A fat-free chip that caused documented gastrointestinal emergencies in consumers required a warning label that used the phrase anal leakage on a snack food package. The warning label was real. The problem it described was also real.
TAKIS FUEGO. TAKIS FUEGO are rolled corn tortilla chips coated in lime and chili seasoning at a concentration that pediatric gastroenterologists began documenting as a cause of gastritis and stomach ulcers in children who consumed them regularly. Multiple American hospitals reported treating children for severe stomach pain traced to excessive TAKIS consumption. Barcel, the manufacturer, stated the product is safe when consumed as directed. The serving size is approximately 13 chips. Most children eat significantly more than 13 chips. The acid in the seasoning combined with the corn chip base creates a combination that irritates the stomach lining at high consumption levels. A snack food sold in schools led to enough pediatric gastroenterology cases that several school districts banned them from campus. Doritos Roulette. Doritos Roulette is a bag of chips where most chips have standard nacho cheese flavor and a small number are coated in an extremely hot seasoning with no visual difference between safe and dangerous chips. The heat level in the spicy chips registers significantly higher than standard spicy Doritos. A British man suffered a severe allergic reaction to the capsaicin concentration in 2015, requiring medical treatment. The product was designed to make consumption unpredictable and the danger random. A snack specifically engineered so that the consumer cannot identify which chips will cause a painful physical reaction before eating them was marketed as entertainment. The random element of potential mouth pain was the selling point.
Pringles. Certain Pringles flavors sold in the United States contain food dyes and preservative combinations that require warning labels under European Union regulations. Pringles manufactured for European distribution use reformulated recipes with natural colorants to avoid mandatory labeling requirements that would otherwise be required for the American formulation. The potato chip itself, made from the same dehydrated potato process globally, is identical. The flavor coating and preservative system applied afterward differs by region according to each market's regulatory requirements. A chip that starts as the same base product becomes a chemically different snack by the time it reaches the shelf in each country. Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Flamin' Hot Cheetos contain red 40 and yellow 6, synthetic dyes that the European Union requires to carry a specific warning label stating a coloring may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Most European manufacturers reformulate products sold in EU markets to avoid the warning label entirely, switching to natural colorants like paprika extract or beetroot. American Flamin' Hot Cheetos use the synthetic version without modification because no warning label requirement exists in the United States. The same snack, sold under the same name, carries a government-mandated health warning in one country and no warning whatsoever in another.
Microwave popcorn. Microwave popcorn bags were lined with perfluoroactanic acid, called PFOA, a chemical used to prevent the bag from burning and the coating from sticking to the popcorn. PFOA is a forever chemical that does not break down in the human body or environment. It accumulates in blood and organs over time and has been linked to kidney cancer, testicular cancer, thyroid disease, and developmental problems in children. Factory workers at microwave popcorn plants developed a lung disease called popcorn lung from inhaling the butter flavoring compound diacetyl. The FDA phased out PFOA from food packaging by 2016, following decades of documented health concerns. A snack eaten at American movie theaters for decades contained a forever chemical that is now banned from its packaging.
Wasabi peas. Wasabi peas sold in the United States contain almost no actual wasabi. The sharp heat comes from horseradish powder and mustard combined with green food coloring, not from the wasabi plant, which is expensive and difficult to grow outside Japan. Real wasabi costs over $100 per kilogram and loses its flavor within minutes of being grated. Approximately 95% of wasabi consumed outside Japan is horseradish-based imitation.
Beyond the labeling issue, the horseradish concentration in wasabi peas consumed in large quantities has caused cases of gastric irritation and one documented case of broken heart syndrome, a stress-induced heart condition reported in a 2019 medical journal after a patient consumed large amounts at a funeral. A snack that causes a cardiological stress response contains no actual wasabi. American sandwich bread. Azotocarbonamide appears in dozens of American commercial bread brands as a dough conditioner that speeds production and extends shelf life. The European Union banned it for food use outright. Singapore imposes criminal penalties, including imprisonment for using it in food production. American bread manufacturers continue using it because no federal ban exists, and the ingredient remains classified as generally recognized as safe by U.S. regulators, despite international consensus moving in the opposite direction. The bread aisle of an ordinary American supermarket contains a chemical that would result in jail time for the manufacturer in Singapore. POP-TARTS. POP-TARTS contain TBHQ, tertiary butyl hydroquinone, a petroleum-derived preservative that extends shelf life significantly. The European Union permits TBHQ but restricts the maximum allowable concentration to levels lower than what American food manufacturers commonly use. Japan and several other countries have stricter limits or require additional labeling. Kellogg's has never reformulated American Pop-Tarts to reduce TBHQ content, despite international standards trending towards stricter limits over the past 2 decades. A toaster pastry sold continuously since 1964 contains a preservative whose acceptable concentration varies significantly depending on which country's food safety agency evaluated it most recently.
Kinder Surprise. Kinder Surprise has been banned in the United States since 1938 under a law prohibiting non-nutritive objects embedded in confectionery. The FDA has seized millions of Kinder eggs at the border. Customs agents specifically look for them. American travelers returning from Europe have had them confiscated at customs. The fine for importing them is up to $2,500 per egg. Ferrero has tried multiple times to enter the American market with modified versions. The Kinder Joy, sold legally in America since 2017, separates the chocolate and toy into 2 compartments to comply with the law. A children's chocolate egg that is legal in over 100 countries remains contraband in the United States because a 1938 law has never been updated.
Reese's. Reese's peanut butter cups have been subject to multiple FDA recalls over the years related to undeclared allergens and salmonella contamination at peanut processing facilities. The 2008 to 2009 salmonella outbreak traced to a Peanut Corporation of America facility affected products across hundreds of brands, including peanut butter-based items. 9 people died and approximately 714 were sickened. The facility's owner was sentenced to 28 years in federal prison, one of the longest sentences ever handed down for food safety crimes. A peanut butter cup beloved by American children was implicated in a contamination scandal that resulted in one of the most significant criminal food safety prosecutions in American history. Cassava. Cassava feeds over 800 million people globally and is one of the most important food crops on Earth. It also contains cyanogenic glucosides that release hydrogen cyanide when the plant tissue is damaged. Bitter cassava varieties contain enough cyanide to kill a person if eaten raw. Traditional processing methods, including peeling, soaking, fermenting, and cooking, reduce the cyanide content to safe levels. Communities that depend on cassava have developed these techniques over generations. When famine or displacement forces people to skip the processing steps, cassava poisoning outbreaks occur. A crop that feeds hundreds of millions requires specific preparation knowledge to avoid producing cyanide. The knowledge is the difference between nutrition and poisoning. Raw cashews. Cashews sold in stores labeled raw are not actually raw. They have been steamed to remove urushiol, the same chemical found in poison ivy and poison oak that causes severe allergic skin reactions and blistering. True raw cashews contain urushiol in the shell and surrounding layers. Workers who process cashews without protective equipment develop contact dermatitis from handling the shells. The steaming process removes the urushiol before the nut reaches consumers. Truly raw cashews cannot be safely eaten without processing. A nut sold as raw in health food stores has already been heat processed to remove a toxin related to poison ivy. The raw label describes the nut's culinary properties, not its actual processing history.